Hey guys, what's going on? This is my second video, and I hope some of you guys will start to like my videos and start commenting in the comment section. So far, I only have my one video, but I don't have any comments, and I only have 5 views. So, I'm definitely not getting that YouTube play button anytime soon. Anyway, what to talk about? This past 2 weeks, or 3 weeks actually, uh, it's been really rough for me. Um, well, I live in a sober living community. It's called the Village of Hope. And I had 2 urine tests come back positive for alcohol. I mean, not one, but two. And I haven't drank alcohol since I was 26 years old, and I'm 47. So that's like 21 going on 22 years, So unless there's some incredibly sensitive tests, you know, they were both false positives. And the worst part was the staff here accused me of drinking. They're like, oh, well, maybe once in a while you get a false positive, you know, but but with two, absolutely not. These tests are 99.9% accurate. Blah blah blah. You know, and they're like, oh, have you called your sponsor and confessed to him that you were drinking? And bro, I just snapped. I'm like, you know what? Go F yourself. You know what I mean? Don't sit here and accuse me of freaking drinking alcohol, all right? One of the main reasons I don't drink is because my father was a lifelong alcoholic, and he was very verbally abusive towards my mother. He never hit her, just very verbally abusive. And he passed away at 63 years old of cirrhosis of the liver. And my oldest brother, his name is Fred, he is a hardcore, nasty, or mean, nasty, rotten, verbally abusive drunk. And he's a total pussy, to be honest, you know. Like after I got hit by rear-ended by a logging truck back in 2020, I had a neck brace on, and after the accident, and he was all drunk out in the driveway, and a couple of neighbors were over in the driveway, everyone just having a couple of beers talking, and I'm standing there with a thing of iced tea in my hand, and next thing I know, I see this beer bottle go flying past my face. I'm like, what the, you know? And if it wasn't for that neck brace being on me, I would have jumped back 10 feet. And I looked over, and I see him just giving me this nasty, nasty look, And he's the only one there then without a drink in his hand, I'm like, dude, did you just throw a beer bottle at my face? While, and he's like, I don't want to talk about it. I go, no, let's talk about it. I go, bro, I just got hit by a freaking logging truck, you know, and suffered a severe concussion, and my neck's all messed up, along with my back, and you're throwing beer bottles at me? Like, bro, I'm like, dude, if you got a problem, fuck it. And I ripped off my neck brace. I'm like, bro, I will beat your ass right now. You know what I mean? And he's like 5'7", 5'8", like 200, but he's all bloated from alcohol. If he wasn't all bloated from alcohol, he'd probably weigh 140 pounds. And I'm serious about that, like a buck 40, So he's got like 60 pounds of, bloated alcohol, keg belly on him, and I'm like 6'1.5", like 245, I'm not a real big guy, but I'm a lot bigger than him, and I could easily throw him around like a wet rag doll, and I went up to him, I saw him like he just took a very small step back, but I could see like how scared he was in his eyes. I'm like, you know what, bro? I'm like, you're not even worth it, bro. I'm like, you're a straight bitch, And I'm ashamed to have you as my brother. And he's like, oh, you don't like you get out of my house. I'm like, that's fine. I'll go pay rent somewhere else, And I'm like, oh yeah, you can thank me for taking your wife to all her cancer treatments. So you didn't have to take off of work and lose your job. I moved down here to do that for you. And yet not once did you ever thank me. You know, you just march it around like a freaking dictator. That's what my other brother and I call him, the dictator. Like he's freaking little Hitler or Napoleon or something. But because he's a narcissistic, know-it-all, and he thinks he knows more than anyone else, especially when it comes to like military stuff, you know. And I served in Ukraine on the front lines, and I am like, to be modest, I would call myself like an expert on Ukrainian history, going back a couple hundred years, 300 years or so. Yeah, I know the complete history of Ukraine, all their Cossack leaders and, all that, up until, the Russians took control of them back in the late 1600s. Ukraine, um, in 1991, Ukraine um left, Russian rulership for the first time in like 337 years, back in 1991 when they declared themselves an independent state. Um, so, but anyway, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, like I'm very familiar with Ukrainian and Russian weapons. AK-47s, AK-74s, AK-12s, PKMs. RPG 26s, RPG 32s, T6, was it T64s, T72s, T80s, T80Ms, T90 tanks, um, just all different Russian equipment. I'm not real big on the Russian aviation where, my oldest brother, he knows all that stuff about the planes. But, I know all the, ground assault vehicles and whatnot, Kamaz trucks and whatnot. Um, but anyway, man, where my, how this conversation come to light? Again, I'm sorry. I'm kind of rambling on here. Um, so that's why I don't drink. My father was verbally abusive towards my mother, and my oldest brother is just a mean, rotten, nasty, raging, drunk, and I see that as like a family curse, and um, myself and my other brother Rick, we neither one of us drink. Um, so it's good that we're breaking the family curse, so to speak, when it comes to that. But I'm sure that my brothers can be passing away within the next couple of years. Um, he looks so horrible, from his alcoholism, the amount of alcohol he consumes every night. From the second he gets home from work till the minute to the second he passes out at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then gets up, an hour later and goes to bed, and gets hour and a half sleep, and then goes right back to work. So he's a very high functioning alcoholic, but physically he looks absolutely horrible. Like I said, last time I saw him, he was around 200 pounds or so, and the 60 pounds overweight for him, all bloated out, his skin's all orange, and and you start to see like yellow around his eyes from the jaundice, and so I'm sure I'm going to be losing a brother. Well, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to even call him that anymore. He's kind of dead to me. Um, I did so much to look out for his wife, to take care of her, to clean her room, go get her prescriptions for her, take care of her 3 cats for her, clean all the litter boxes, and I painted the inside of their house for him for free. I primed and painted his garage door. I did all the landscaping on his property. And never once did I ever get so much as a thank you, for doing any of that. And what really, and like I said, what I, did to look out for his wife when she was sick with cancer. Um, Not once has my brother ever made any sort of attempt to, get to know my son, Eric, who's Ukrainian and living in Poland right now because of the war. He absolutely refuses to recognize him as his nephew, you know. Um, a few years ago, I was sending a Western Union to Alina for Eric's birthday, and he's like, "Oh," and he gave me a ride to the store or whatever to send it. And he's like, "Oh, how much are you sending?" I'm like, "I don't know, like 750." He's like, "What? Are you kidding me? $750?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "It's his birthday." He's like, "Oh, dude, like maybe send him like $50. You know what I mean? And you can give the rest to me for rent and food." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Bro, it's my son's birthday." I'm like, not that you give a crap, because, you refuse to, have anything to do with him, because he's Ukrainian and you hate Ukrainians, and just like you have, how you, hate Russians. I mean, he hates Russians, but he admires their military achievements and all that BS, you know. But he absolutely refuses, like, absolutely hates Ukrainians. I don't know why. I have no clue. Our mother was Ukrainian. She was from Ulish Kriv, Ukraine, which is a small village in southwestern Poland. It has a population of about 25 people in the entire village, and my brother would always, flip out when we were kids when my mom was teaching me Russian, helping me go over words and the Cyrillic alphabet, and whatnot. He always got really pissed off about that. He hated it, and he absolutely hates the fact that I married a Ukrainian woman, and my son's a Ukrainian citizen who speaks Russian and Ukrainian, and only speaks a couple words of English, Not once has my brother ever so much as sent him a message on Telegram saying happy birthday, or send him a birthday present or a Christmas present, And I think that is so evil, like to take out like what you hate about a culture of people, to take it out on a little boy. Like, something's wrong with you if that's the way you act, Like, he's taken like his hatred out for Ukrainians on my son, you know. I was doing a Zoom call with my son one time, and my brother walked by, and he asked me. He said, "Who's that?" I said, "Oh, that's your." I really didn't want to tell him, but I was like, "Yeah, it's my brother, Fred." He's like, and then his mom translated it to him, like, it's his uncle, and he's like, why doesn't he ever call me to talk to me? Why haven't I ever met him? And what am I supposed to tell my son? You know, that he hates him because of his because of his ethnicity. I mean, seriously. Like, that's the like type of like like absolutely mean and cruel and evil shit my brother does. You know, he takes it out on taking that out on a little boy. From the time he was born, even till right now. When Sumi was under Russian occupation, and I sent Alina 15 grand to get her and Eric out of Sumi and to Poland. And that was a big if they could get out, because they were currently trapped in Sumi. Like, they had no means of leaving the city. No cars were leaving anything. Everything was under the Russian military control. So I sent her that. I'm like, use it for food, medicine, whatever you need. Because I figured all the food would be more expensive, because it'd be like almost like in a black market, because their normal society had just collapsed, because of the war, of the war and the invasion of Ukraine, and and I'm like, hopefully, they'll do a ceasefire and bring in buses and get the civilians out. And she's like, yeah, I really doubt it. But anyway, 6.5 weeks later, they did, and Alina and Eric made it to Poland, and he asked me, he's oh, I'm sorry. He found the Western Union receipt. I had left it on the a bathroom sink, and when I came home or whatever, I want to put it on the bathroom sink, and I forgot to grab it and bring it back to my bedroom, and my brother found it, and he absolutely freaked out. He's like, "You sent her 15 grand, you stupid boo boo boo." You know what I mean? I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, you know what I could do? I could have done with that money. I could have got myself a new car." I'm like, are you fucking mad? My son's mother and my son are trapped in a city that is under Russian occupation, by the Russian fucking military. And you're bitching about me, who went out and had to get a loan to be able to send her that money so she could survive and hopefully get out of there into another country to be safe. Her and my son. And he was saying, "Oh, I could have got a car, I could have did this, I could have did that." I'm like, well, first of all, I would never have given you that money, and second of all, the only reason, I sent her that much is because I'm hoping by the grace of God that is if he answers my prayers, as I'm on my knees every day and night crying and begging God to allow the civilians of Sumy to get out of there safely, and get to either Slovakia or Poland, safely, and wow, yeah, I mean, that's just the way he is, man. Like if you got money, he thinks it's his, and he makes a lot of money. He's a generator technician for a big company. I don't want to say the name of the company. Probably get friggin' sued, for them having that alcoholic work for them. But yeah, I mean, he makes probably like 120 grand a year, and he doesn't even have to drive his personal vehicle to work. His work gave him like a $90,000 brand new pickup truck, that's like fully loaded, leather, all that BS. And he gets to drive it home every night, and he can drive it around to go get beer or whatever. He does it all the time, and he's got a fuel card, so he never has to pay for fuel, and like he just uses his money to buy toys, like motorcycles, and he bought a Jeep Wrangler. He bought a Jeep Wrangler and just parked it in his backyard. He's never driven it. Yeah. So, like, he's got 1 acre of land, and he has 3 zero-turn lawnmowers, which are like 7 grand a piece, because he has the really nice ones. Plus, he has 2 regular tractors. One's a John Deere. I think the other's a Farmall, if I remember correctly. And he has this huge, gigantic shed in his backyard that he bought. It's probably cost like 80 grand for the shed. It's huge. It's got a big ramp up into it, so he can drive his lawnmowers inside and out of it. And he only uses 1 lawnmower, but yet he's got like 5. You know what I'm saying? He's got a boat. He's got like a 27 or 29 foot boat that he takes out to the summer like 2 or 3 times in the summertime. And then if you go with him, he'll make you clean the boat, like when he gets back. Getting all salt water off it, all that BS and jazz. I mean, I never went with him because I knew he would try to pull something like that. My other brother Rick, he went with him a couple times, And every time he's like, I'll never go with him again. That lazy bastard, it's his boat. He should be the one to clean it. I didn't ask him to take me fishing. He invited me. Now I got to clean his boat. Like, just dumb shit. But, like, he's a hoarder. Everything I had in his house in my bedroom that I did not take with me when I flew to Poland to spend time with Alina and Eric before I went to Ukraine. I left a lot of really expensive personal items, and they're gone, disappeared. You know, uh, I'll never see them again. Like here's one for example. When I was about 14 years old, I moved my grandfather into my mom's father into a retirement community. Like lugged all the furniture and boxes and whatnot. And my grandfather, he gave me this painting of the Mayflower that he had purchased for like 5 grand. And this is back in '87. He paid 5 grand for it, and it was by a really like well-known maritime artist. And when my mom sold her house in Pennsylvania in '05 to move to Virginia, Fred, he moved to Florida and didn't help my mom out with her move at all. And I wound up packing up my mom's house plus his bedroom, and my other brother's bedroom as well, and all their personal items, and I'm a really good packer. I worked for United Van Lines for like 4.5 years, back when I was, in my early 20s or whatever. But so I did a professional job packing up all the stuff, and my mom had a lot of really expensive artwork in her home, and I boxed everything, I labeled it. I remember packing up my painting of the Mayflower, and I labeled it and everything with Sharpie on the outside of the box, in the mirror boxes, as they're called, and it disappeared. My brother came up, got his shit rolled. Then I took the rest of the stuff, belonging to my mom, and moved her into her new home down in Chincoteague Island, Virginia. And I remember my painting came up missing, and I couldn't understand it. I'm like, what happened to it? What happened to it? So I called my brother, and I'm like, hey, yo, like, did by accident did you grab my painting? And he knows how much it was worth, and not only that, but how much I liked it. It was a memory to me of my grandfather. And he was like, oh, no, 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 I ain't got it, I ain't got it, I ain't got it. So for the next, like, I think it was like 13 years, I would ask him every Thanksgiving, bro, can you go, like, if you got extra rooms in your house or whatever, or a shed or whatever, can you go in there and just look for me? Can you look for my painting? He's like, no, no, I already did. I go, it's definitely not in my house. I already checked like 3 times. It's not here. Stop bugging me about it. You probably lost it. So, sure enough, when I wound up moving down south in Florida, the first thing I found while moving into the new back bedroom in the closet was my Mayflower painting. And I brought it out to him. It was still in the box. He never even opened it. And right on the front, huge letters, couldn't miss it, And I'm like, Stevie Wonder couldn't miss it, it's how big the letters were, And I was like, I brought it out to him. I'm like, check this out. He's like, yeah, what's that? I'm like, it's my painting of the Mayflower that I've been missing for like the last 13 years. And every year I've been asking you if you have it. He's like, well, how'd it get here? I'm like, wow, you tell me. I'm like, it was in your closet in the back bedroom, the bedroom I'm moving into. He's like, oh, well, maybe Rick, threw it onto the truck that, I took down here. I'm like, right. Like, are you kidding me? Like, also, like, my father's brother, he was a left waist gunner on a B-24 Liberator during the Second World War, and he did the Romanian oil fields. The raids where they used to bomb the oil fields in Romania, and he did bombing missions over Italy and also in Germany. And back then, you used to have to do 25 missions, and then you can go home. My uncle did his 25, signed up again, did another 25, and then went home. And but and he's like one of only like I think like 6 or 7 guys that ever do 50 missions during World War II. In the B-29 Liberators, because those bombers were shot down, almost every day, by the Nazis. The survival rate was extremely, extremely low. A lot of guys, died, back then. But anyway, my uncle, he had left me his rucksack that still had all the markings on it from World War II, and he had left me a German youth knife that he wound up acquiring, through trading with, the guys in the Army, or the Army Air Corps back then, as it was. But it was a German youth knife, his rucksack, a bunch of his, pins and medals, and his one of his flight uniforms with his cold weather flight jacket he had left to me, and he left it to me in his will. And my brother Fred was always so jealous about that. And sure enough, I moved down to Virginia to Florida to help him take care of his wife. I brought all that stuff with me, and yep. So once I left for Poland, I couldn't take it with me to Poland. I was going to see my son, and I knew from there I was gonna go volunteer in Ukraine, and so I couldn't take it with me, and I asked my brother Rick. I'm like, look, remember this Uncle Warren stuff? He left it to me in his will. I'm like, do me a favor and put it in your room, because if Fred sees it, he'll steal it, and I'll never see it again. He's like, yeah, no problem. Well, my brother Rick forgot, and sure enough, as soon as I left for the airport, to fly to Amsterdam and Amsterdam to Poland, he went in that back bedroom to see what I had left, and sure enough, he had found it. Because I called my brother Rick, and he's like, oh, listen, man, I'm really, really sorry. He's like, yeah.
I think, doesn't Ed leave soon or no?
I'm sorry?
It said 6:30 that he leaves, but I was...
Okay, I'll be out in 1 second.
That's fine.
Anyway, I'm getting called. I'm getting called to go to a NA meeting right now in Souderton, PA. So maybe I'll see you there. And if you see me there, say what's up. If not, drop a like in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you want to hear from me. I can tell you some really, really amazing combat, stories from Ukraine. I served on the front lines for 10.5 months. I saw combat, every day for weeks on end. We get rotated like every 12 hours or so. Sometimes you go in for 3 days, you pull out, and then you go back in for 3 days. But I saw a lot of combat, and I definitely neutralized a lot of Russians, or as we call them, orcs. Because they're invaders and they absolutely destroy everything. They rape women, they loot their apartments, their flats as they call them. They steal everything. And they burn everything to the ground. They're absolutely evil, sadistic, cruel psychopaths. And I'm very proud that I neutralized so many of them. I'm not going to tell you a number, but it's very high, very, very high. Okay, so I'm very proud of that. So, I made Ukraine a little bit safer. But hey, I got to get going to this NA meeting, and I'll make another video. Peace out, and as always, Slava Ukraini, and peace out. Glory to Ukraine, glory to defenders. Or yeah, all right. Sorry, I'm in a rush.